The Tapestry, Chapter 9, Future Becomes Present. There's so many periods of waiting in life that make time seem long while the rest of life flies. There's waiting to finish school, waiting for exam results, waiting for the wedding day to arrive, and waiting for the baby to take 9 months to grow. There's waiting for a long illness to break and signs of recovery to be real. There is a waiting for that event all Christians most urgently desire, at least in most periods of their lives, for Christ to return and restore the fallen world, giving us our new bodies to be his bride, with only glory ahead and no waiting left. That will be a fulfillment with no shadow of disappointment, to which the word perfection really applies. If you are all ready to be envious of perfection in our lives, friends and mine, you can stop holding your breath, because there are no perfect people, no perfect relationships, no perfect marriages, no perfect work, no perfect children, no perfect families, no perfect periods of time, and there's no perfect formula for how to have perfection. But, you may say, he wrote and told you how perfect you were, and you wrote and told him he had no faults, and you went on and on about it for all that time. Yes, and we felt very strongly that we could find no flaw in each other, that we were to come to discover what those flaws were, and that we were going to live with the flaws, which would become a part of our history, day by day. Look at this book.
Oh.
So, unhappily, no one stressed to us what we were stressing to others, that if you expect or demand perfection or nothing, you will have nothing. So we were going to have some bumps, discovering realities and sorting out values through the years. Perhaps no one told us what continuity means in life, but happily, we were going to recognize that in time after time, my friends at Beaver, Dot and Lou, Charlie and Carol, Cherry and others, had prepared a surprise shower for me. Oh, I didn't really clear that off well. Recognize in time after time. Okay, so my friends at Beaver, Dot and Lou, Charlie and Carol, Cherry and others had prepared a surprise shower for me that was a real surprise I hadn't guessed. Stopping with Lou for a book I left here at Dot's house, we were led casually around to the back garden, and I was handed a clothes basket. Will you help me take down the wash? As I looked down at the basket and took a few more steps, suddenly a chorus of voices shouted, "Surprise, surprise!" as girls rushed out from behind the bushes, and I saw that packages wrapped and tied with ribbons were fastened to the clotheslines with clothespins. When all the packages had been put into the clothes basket, refreshments were passed around, and I sat on the living room floor, opening packages amid a hubbub of exclamations over the contents. Those dear friends had really stocked our kitchen. To this day, I am using a lot of those things: the frying pan, the pitcher with a cat for the handle, the tea cloth, etc. My cedar chest filled up that night, and a bridge was made between college and that unknown new home, where seminary life would begin, and I'd be a perpetual senior. Fran had come home after graduation to look up the head of the bakery in which he had worked the summer before. He landed a job for the time left before the wedding, 3 weeks, which would enable him to earn the wedding cake, complete with lovely white roses and icing sugar and a little more. While he was earning the wedding cake, I was making a white lace peplum blouse to turn the white crepe evening gown into a wedding dress. That white gown had been my last clothing class project, but it needed a bit of change. There were also bridesmaids' dresses to be made, and Mother and I worked on those together. My 2 sisters, Janet and Elsa, were to be bridesmaids, the only time our family would ever be together in that way. A very special time that we enjoyed without knowing it was to be the only. Life often has its moments like that, which need to be not wasted. I'd be working away sewing on the cotton dimity materials, one sprigged with tiny pink roses, the other with blue, for the bridesmaids, when Fran would come to spend the evening and talk about all our plans. One evening, he stood at the door and asked, "Please give me a good sharp kitchen knife, a big one. I found a torn up old couch on the lot at the corner, and I want to rip the springs out of it to make a back for our couch." Right where Zeoli's tent had stood was a filling station. Behind it, someone had thrown this couch. Our first piece of furniture for our living room, it consisted of the pull-out bit of a bed, one that can become bigger by pulling a twin bit out. It had only 2 legs, so Fran improvised 2 back legs, and then made a back out of the loose springs. This was not exactly pink and blue dimity in the living room kind of handwork, so he hauled it down to the cellar to work on. We had found an apartment, a 3rd floor rear on Green Street near the Philadelphia Art Museum. The neighborhood may be restored now, but in those days it was pretty much a slum area. The apartment consisted of a tiny living room, an even tinier bedroom, a bathroom, and a small kitchen, with the redeeming feature of opening onto a tin roof, giving us an outdoor vista that overlooked ugly backyards and sides of buildings, but afforded us a bit of sunshine each day. The landlady's name was Mrs. White, and she said we could have it from September on. The rent would not start until then, $23 a month. As Westminster Seminary then was located in Pine Street, it was just far enough for the walk to be good exercise for Fran. With this apartment in mind, we were decorating in our imaginations, as much as possible finding what we needed before the wedding, since afterwards we'd be leaving for our summer job. Our answer to prayer, which gave us the guidance we had prayed for to get married in July, was a summer job. We were to be summer camp counselors at Camp Michidoon in Michigan, a Christian camp run by Reverend and Mrs. Lance Latham. The job was to be divided. Fran would be kitchen help while I was counselor during the girls' camp. Then he would be a counselor, and I would too, teaching leather